Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the March 8th, 2022 regular meeting of the Everett Public School Board of Directors to order. I'd like to make a closed caption disclaimer at this time. We are providing closed captioning for our meeting. Please note the disclaimer that's being displayed on the screen for those that are online viewing our meeting. Thank you very much. We're going to do something unique and different this time. Our student representative, Benta Colley, will be giving our land acknowledgement this evening.
We respectfully acknowledge that we are on the traditional lands of the Coast Salish, Snohomish, and Tulalip peoples. We express our deepest respect and gratitude to the ancestors of this land on whose shoulders we stand. In Everett Public Schools, we strive to create equitable outcomes and build a culture of inclusive belonging for all students, teachers, staff, and community.
Thank you very much, Student Representative Colley. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the secretary please call the roll?
President Lissain.
Present.
Vice President Mitchell.
Present.
Director Nichols.
Present.
Director Mason.
Present.
Director Berg. Student Representative Pilch-Bassan.
Present.
Student Representative Colley.
Present.
Our first item of business is the adoption of the agenda. Dr. Saltzman, would you please introduce the agenda for this evening?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, Board of Directors, and the public. Good evening. Tonight's agenda contains the following: a segment for recognitions, the Superintendents Report, a segment for board comments, a segment for public comments, a segment for routine business, a segment for information and discussion, a segment for new business, a segment for upcoming agenda items, followed by a closed session this evening. Since publishing the agenda, the following change was made to the agenda. Item 8.01, the Superintendent's Report, presentation was added. Item 10.02, approval of the personnel report. The report was updated. And item 10.06, acceptance of the financial reports as of January 31, 2022. A small correction was made to one of the graphs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saltzman. Is there a motion for the adoption of the agenda?
So moved. A second.
It's been moved by Director Mason and seconded by Director Mitchell to adopt the agenda. Are there any discussion items? Hearing none, we will proceed to the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say no. The motion carries. The agenda for this evening is adopted. We shall now move to section 6.0, which is recognition of the Everett PTA Council. Our presenter is Dr. Lancaster, and I see she's already at the podium. Boy, is she happy.
I love the opportunity to present our PTAs. So they're going to come on in. Our PTA members that we're representing are going to come stand in the middle of the room. Come on in. And the principals are going to join along the outsides. And I think we have some people joining us virtually as well. So welcome. If our PTA members wouldn't mind standing up so that the board knows who is being recognized here tonight, it'll just be a minute. Thank you so much. So presenting Presenting the PTA is always a highlight of my year. Tonight I'm going to recognize the PTA's council and the individual PTAs of our district. And I'm going to make a few remarks, and then Principal Tony Wentworth is going to make a few remarks on behalf of the principals, and then Craig Willis, who's the president of our council, will make a few remarks. Then we'll present a gift and we'll get to take a picture. So lots of fun things tonight. I want to thank all of our esteemed guests for being here to honor this group, either in person or on Zoom. So there's no such thing as a great community without great schools. Schools and communities are inextricably intertwined. Without the involvement of community, our schools are simply learning centers. When you bring parents, relatives, and friends together for the purpose of learning, and you are singularly focused on creating an outstanding learning environment for our students, then greatness happens. The volunteers you see here tonight and the ones on Zoom, they are the worker bees of our community building efforts. They survey parents to find out what their needs are. They set up events, they create connections, they clean up, they plan. And then they plan again when the rules change for holding an event. Okay. We had high hopes at the beginning of the year that this would be somewhat more of a normal time, but normal wasn't to be. And our PTA still did amazing work to ensure that our possibilities in our schools became realities in ever-changing circumstances. Plans to hold events were made and then canceled, and then made and canceled, and hopefully made again soon. Opportunities to volunteer were set up and then canceled and set up again. Conditions were ever changing, but that did not detour this dedicated group of volunteers. They all found a way to make greatness happen in their schools. Our PTAs are made up of individuals, parents, grandparents, school staff, and community members. These smart people desire to make our schools better, and they help us to build a community around learning for our students. We're better because they are here making us better every single day. So now I'd like to ask Principal Tony Wentworth to come up and make some brief remarks on behalf of the principals.
Thank you very much. I first want to start off by saying how important the partnership is with our PTSA. And this starts very, very early, actually in the summertime and heading into the start of the school year, with the planning process and figuring out ways to strengthen relationships and the partnership with all of the families in our school communities. And this continues on into the school year, focused around academics, social, emotional, the overall well-being of each child, and then ultimately also infusing fun and engagement into the school learning community. Early in the year, the importance of the PTSA grants or PTA grants at our school specifically are significant. They coincide timing-wise with the Everett Public Schools Foundation grants, and we use that timing as an opportunity to provide as much support as possible for our school staff for the benefit of our students and the school community. And through these opportunities, we're able to bring in so much more to enhance the school day, the learning opportunities, and as I said, also in just creating engaging, fun learning opportunities for everyone. And so here we are in March, and so the fun aspect is significant as this month it's a reading focus for March. And so at Whittier, we've been working on creating a glow dance, not in person, but a virtual glow dance to support our reading focus, which the opportunities of the past couple of years is to create something that we haven't created before. So what we do know is it's going to be a fun, engaging opportunity that celebrates reading. And then the other part is to celebrate and honor our school staff, all the staff members as we head into the Paraprofessionals Appreciation Week next week, and then the planning for Teacher Appreciation Week, which is coming in May. So at this point, as we head to the end of the school year, it's a celebration and recognition of everyone that is involved in supporting our schools, and our PTSA is a huge, huge piece in making sure that we have the best possible support and ultimately for the benefit of our students. So we couldn't do this work without our PTSA. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wentworth, for those glowing remarks. I couldn't resist the glow comment. Next, Craig Willis, our PTSA Council President, will have a few remarks.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone who's here today, everyone who's watching at home and attending, and those who even couldn't be here today. There are far too many to name. Within our district are 27 PTAs that are currently over to 3,800 members, including over 160 parents, other family members, staff members, and community members who serve on the PTA boards of directors. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused many challenges, but for all 27 PTAs, they have persevered. That also includes finding new ways to hold events and activities, as well as to provide support and outreach to our school communities in the Everett area. Our PTAs are not only strategic partners for our district, but they're also all pieces to the same puzzle of the PTA mission, which is making every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children. Everett PTSA Council is very proud of every PTA that is in our district, and we recognize and appreciate your continued efforts. Thank you for all that you do. We couldn't do this without you.
Okay, so now the fun part. We're so thankful for how the PTA has cared for us and our students that we put together a gift bag to remind them of the importance of self-care and taking care of themselves. And it probably does need a little bit of explanation. So in some of the SEL lessons that students have, they are taught breathing exercises, right? So they're taught to smell the soup. So everyone must smell the soup and blow out the candle. And so we have a nice packet of soup that you can make for family. So you can smell the soup and blow out the candle. And then there's a lavender bath bomb to help with that relaxation. And everyone has a some kind of inspirational sticker for their water bottle and a beautiful thank you cookie. So we'd like, each one of you will get one of these. We'd like you to come up front, and while you're, we're gonna take a picture here. We're gonna spread out as best we can. While you're doing it, the principals will bring out a bag and hand one to each of you. So let's give them one more big round of applause. Thank you for all you do. You guys take a few and, yeah. Perfect. They're gonna bring you the gift bags.
You can step back to
Step all the way back to the wall. You might have to do, you might have to stand facing to the side. Yeah, turn to the side so everybody can fit. Yeah, go sideways. They're taller than small children. We usually get standing. No, we're good. Fine.
Are we? We'll slip it between heads here. Besides, it's you guys that we want.
Thank you so much.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Let's see, can I have you stand on the other side of Tara? Yeah. Thank you. No, you guys are cool. Okay.
Yeah. Come on over
So you
this
get
way.
the Zoom people in? I got you all. You ready?
Woohoo.
1, 2, 3. We take one more. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you.
I just want to say it's always a pleasure to see the PTSA here. You provide so much for our students to help them grow into exemplary citizens of this community. And I would like to thank you for your inspiration, your knowledge, and your motivation in doing this work as a partnership with the Everett Public Schools. Thank you so very much.
Okay, so we have one more recognition to do tonight, and every year WASDA recognizes board members who have long terms of service, and so I'd like to bring up Dr. Salzman to give an award on behalf of WASDA tonight.
Thank you. Madam Chair, will you please join me here?
I thought we forgot.
On the left, no, we did not forget. Kathy, you have the award?
I do.
Okay. Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
tonight I want to give you a recognition. Captain Pamela Sane has served as a board member for 10 years. What an accomplishment, Captain. We calculated that to over 200 board meetings, 3,000 hours of committed to serving students in our community and reading emails, over 3,000 emails, I'm sure, and many Friday emails as well. We appreciate your commitment to the hard work to make sure that you always do the best for students. We thank you for your dedication, Captain, and we thank your family as well for letting us have you Tuesday evenings. Thank you, Captain.
Thank you.
And this is for you. And I'm going to read it to you, Captain. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Captain Pamela Sane, the Everett Public School Board, with appreciation for your 10 years of valuable service to the children of Washington State. Captain, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations. Well deserved.
I must be getting too old now because it doesn't seem like it's been that long. In fact, I can remember my first meeting. I was scared out of my wits. But we'll now move to section 7.01, the Superintendent's Report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, to the public and to our school board members this evening. First of all, I'm very glad to be here this evening because at about 10 a.m. this morning as I was leaving the school, I had to stop in the middle of traffic when I heard that Russell Wilson was traded. So I'm just glad I'm here to end safe. And thank you, Russell Wilson, for your service to Seattle. What a week coming up. March 14th to March 18th is Educational Support Professionals Week. There are over 100 different jobs that fall into this category of classified jobs, and there's no question our district cannot function without them. Hundreds of employees go out to work every day to make schools successful for our students, even though many of these people don't even work directly with students. Next week, our cabinet and our board is going to go out and work at some of these positions to show our appreciation for all that they do. So let's honor that on that week, a very special week. Kindergarten kickoff. What a night that was. Last Thursday, we held our first ever kindergarten kickoff. It was via Zoom, and the goal was to inform parents of incoming kindergartens about the basics. By encouraging them to sign up early, they could take advantage of early communications from their schools, as well as participate in Everett Ready. Ann Arnold, one of our unsung heroes in this district, did an amazing job facilitating the event. Over 175 attendees that evening. Thank you, Ann Arnold, and thank you to her entire team. March has several important recognitions.
Oh, yes.
March is Read Across America Month, and we know readers are leaders, and we need to encourage reading at an early age. March is Women's History Month. We celebrate the contribution of women throughout our history. March is National Music in Our Schools Month. Music helps develop the left side of our brain and engage in learning. March is Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. We promote the respect of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Robotics. We continue to shine in this district with robotics. And one of them last week was Jackson High School. 2910 Jack in the Bot team. Last weekend, they won the kickoff event at Glacier Peak with their robot Thor. Congratulations to the outstanding Jack in the Bot. And then finally, let me close by saying this again to our PTSA that was honored tonight. We could not pass levies. We could not do a lot of things for our kids with the volunteers of PTSA. So thank you, PTSA. We love you and we appreciate you greatly. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saltzman. We'll now move to board comments. Fantastic. We'll start at the end of the dais and work our way this way. So, Student Representative Colley, would you like to begin?
Yeah. I'd just like to recognize the mask mandate is being lifted. And as we're all excited, as the mask mandate is finally coming off, we're also being very cautious. And I think that should be recognized that it's not just something we're going to jump right back into, and we'll take it little by little, as everyone's still cautious and nervous about if cases could rise once we take the mandate off, or any possibilities that could go wrong. So we're staying cautious. And also at Cascade, we are doing registration for our classes. Our counselors have been helping a lot with showing us how to register for each class and get all requirements in for graduation. And I'd also just like to finish with thanking the PTSA for all the help that they do. And I'm glad they're recognized tonight because a lot of things wouldn't be passed without them. So I'd like to thank them for their help.
Yeah, I just really quickly wanted to say thank you, Dr. Saltzman, for recognizing the Jackson High School robotics team. My older brothers were both on that team when they were in high school, and my oldest brother actually has a tattoo on his wrist that says 2910 for the robotics team number at Jackson, because that's how much it meant to him in high school. So I think it's awesome whenever we mention them, even though it wasn't my cup of tea when I got to high school. I love hearing the updates about that team. So I first wanted to talk about the legislative meetings that have been happening in the past month or so, advocating for Everett Public Schools legislative priorities with our local representatives and senators for the state of Washington. I think it was really cool to see again for the second year and just reiterate how strong our district's relationship already is with those legislators, and how much work we do every year to continue to strengthen it in support of our students. Every single meeting is just a really positive experience. It's with legislators that recognize who we are and we know who they are, and it's just it's a community feeling. As a part of that, I was encouraged and able to testify on House Bill 1664 in the Senate Ways and Means Committee. So that was the bill about increasing the prototypical model for social, emotional, and physical support staff in schools. So that was a really cool experience. Sat in a Zoom room for several hours, but when it was finally my turn to speak, it was really cool to get to see that happening in action and play a role in it. And I think it's always really valuable to be showing legislators the students' stories and the students' faces, so they don't get caught up in just statistics and numbers and legal language about schools when they're really seeing the student stories. I also wanted to say Happy International Women's Day. That is today. So just thank you to all the really inspirational female teachers I've had, and just be extra appreciative of the women in your life today. Like Binta was saying, masks are coming off, so I just really want to echo what she said about being respectful and making sure that you're honoring everyone's choices and making sure that you're respecting other people's safety. It might be a really anxious time for some people who have immunocompromised family members or have situations themselves that make it more of an anxious time, so just make sure you're being, no matter what choice you're making, you're being really respectful of people who might not feel as safe as they have been feeling recently. And then one last thing is that Jackson will be holding our first in-person high school dance in 2.5 years on March 26th, which is our Tolo. And I thought you guys might be happy to hear that. Yeah, that's all I have.
Good job.
That's awesome. I'm certain there are some folks looking forward to that. It'll be fun. I don't have anything tonight other than I just can't believe 1 month ago today we sat here in this boardroom awaiting election results, and we have not gathered since that time. And I'm just so pleased and so appreciative of our community for the strong support that we got. So thank you, everyone.
All right, so just want to echo everybody's well wishes to the PTSA. I'm so happy that we have them in our district. This past month, I got to sit in the background while my wife was attending one of the info sessions for Emerson Elementary's dual language program. And just want to let folks know that there's another information session coming up, I believe, within the next week or so. So if you have a kindergartner or first grader that's getting ready to enroll and you're looking at the programs, please sign up for it. Check it out. It's a really good program. And then the last thing I want to say is here in Everett, we are very lucky to have a robust Ukrainian and Russian community here with us. And my thoughts and heart has been going out to all of them over these past week with the conflict in Ukraine. It is a tragedy what is happening there. It is definitely a pivotal moment in history, and I hope that all, if they still have family there, that they're safe. And I hope this whole thing comes to a close quickly. And we're here for you. We support you, and thank you for being a part of our community.
Thank you for that, Andrew, because I do have a colleague, and so this message goes out to everyone who has been impacted by atrocities such as this. One of my colleagues did live under communist Hungary and did have a PTSD episode last week because of what's happening over there. So for all of our immigrants and their families that have come from countries where there are atrocities, please know that your teachers and your counselors at the schools are here to help you. And I appreciate our students mentioning the mask coming off and their message of be kind and accept, because some of us are ready for the mask to come off. Some of us might continue to wear masks forever because of personal choices, and that this does not mean that the COVID-19 is gone. And so that we need to honor each other and be kind to each other. And I really appreciate the message that the school has for no bullying and being kind, that this is not that time. I am very, very proud of both of our students who met with the legislators, that I think the adults did very little talking, and we let them do most of the talking. People might not know that there are 4 legislative districts that cover the Everett Public Schools, so that's 12 legislators, and I think we met with about 9 or 10 of them, maybe even 11 or 12, and I just wasn't there. The students showed up for all of them. One or both of them were at every single one of those appointments, told very personal stories about how social emotional the changes were happening here, how COVID has impacted their friends, their classmates, and how equity inclusion is just who they are and who they represent, and what we need here, need the state to understand, because it's whoever it is. I'm very, very proud of our 2 students, and to have a legislator ask Tara if she'd be willing to testify, and Tara was already ready to go and sent the link, and it was just wonderful to have her have that experience as she moves forward in her career towards graduation and furthering her education. And I also just want to echo International Women's Day. Thank you, and the PTSA recognition. Lastly, that with any kind of PTSD and other things with this atrocities that are happening in Ukraine right now, It was very interesting. I had a friend who passed away, and she was a librarian down in the Bethel School District. And to have us all come together, that we all graduated from college together, and have all of us have children and the like that have a mental disease or disorder. We were trying to figure out, is it just more common, or is it the fact we can all sit around and talk about it? And I think what the pandemic really showed us is that it's okay to talk about it, to talk about our children's struggles, to talk about our own struggles. And I actually had one of my friends that I haven't, we exchanged Christmas cards because she lives in California, texted me and just said, how are you handling this with your daughter? Because our daughters have some of the same problems. And to have that resource now, and to be honest and not keep it secret when you have a mental disease or disorder, I think if the pandemic has shown us, it has shown us many things that I think are a lot better. And I hope that we can continue to be open and honest with people we trust. I mean, not publicly proclaiming, but just really knowing that mental health is real. Mental health issues and disorders and diseases are real. We have services here for our students, and especially those that are really suffering. So thank you so much.
Very much. I also want to echo what Director and Nichols said. It's very important that we support and attend to those students who still have family members, loved ones over in Ukraine during this particular time. We have a very robust Ukraine population here, and we need to support them where they need their support. And today I didn't have a light blue to wear in support of Ukraine, but I did have a dark blue to wear in support of Ukraine. And I'm standing in support of them right now. This is a tough time for them, and we all should support them. So please. With that being said, we shall move on to the next item of business, and that is public comments section. We have no in-person public comments, but we do have one public speaker online tonight. Jared, would you please promote Stacy Harami to the panelists so they can join us via Zoom? Our guest speaker. Okay, you're already there.
Hi. Hi,
excuse me. You will have 3 minutes to speak to the board. At the end of your 3 minutes, you will return to the attendee status to view the rest of the meeting. I would like to ask that you keep your camera on so that we can see you on the screen. The technology is set to hide non-video participants, so it makes it hard to see who's talking when the camera is off. Thank you very much, and your 3 minutes begins now.
Thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Stacy, and I am a parent of a child at Woodside Elementary School who's in the 3rd grade right now. And the reason I am speaking today is that I'm concerned that there was very little input allowed by parents to speak when it comes to this decision made by of whether or not to lift all the masks or not, mask mandates for the schools. The day that the governor had made the decision, I called the school board and I said, I think there should be some kind of forum for parents to speak to, because this is, about how we feel about our children's being in an environment where the other kids won't be wearing masks. And I was directed to talk to Mr. Fleckenstein, and I left a message with him, and I never heard back. The following day is when the decision was made. Very quickly after the governor's decision, it came from the superintendent, and it was very clear that there would probably be no place for us as parents to speak on how we feel about this. So that is why I'm here today. I noticed last week that the Seattle School Board had just made this decision in the public, so people had an opportunity to speak. I believe that parents should have a voice to speak when it comes to the decision of masking, because it concerns the health and safety of our children and that are students there and our families as a whole. The decision says that students are free to wear masks as they want, as if this is completely an individual choice. The problem with that is that if my student wears a mask, it's going to give them little protection from another student who may be contagious and is not wearing a mask. The mask gives them some protection, but it's going to protect other students if my student is infected, if my son is infected, more than it is going to be to protect my son. So it's not, I don't see it as just an individual choice thing, which it's kind of being labeled out to be. It is a community choice. And as such, I really feel like us as the community should have had, some kind of input on this. Many students have younger brothers and sisters that are at home that are not of the age to be vaccinated. And so if a student is infected, now they can bring it home to their younger brothers and sisters. Not to mention any other members of the family who have are immunocompromised, it can also affect them. And I think we need to look after their welfare. I think one thing that we're missing too is that the younger students, age 5 to 12, only recently got the opportunity to get vaccines or get vaccinated, and they're probably the group right now that is probably the least vaccinated. I would also question, and we are looking at the rates and they are coming down, and I believe they are coming down, but I don't know that if the picture is exactly, I think there's a lot more people getting back that are probably infected that we know of it because we have home kits. Mm-hmm. And so when people are testing themselves at home, which is great. I do it all the time myself. I have allergies and I want to make sure that, yeah.
Harami, we have already reached your 3-minute period of time.
Oh, okay.
So you will.
Can I give just a couple seconds then?
You will get a notice from us, and I would like to say thank you very much for taking the time to speak to the board. But we will be sending you a notice in the mail to let you know some statements. I guess you would say. Refreshing your mind as to what the policy states.
Yeah.
So I would like to thank you so much for coming to the board this evening. Thank you. It's always great to hear from the public, and I appreciate your ability to come and speak with us. That's very important. We wish to hear from our constituents every time, but we have to continue the meeting as a business meeting of the board. But thank you so much for coming, and we will get back to that speaker. Thank you. We'll now move to the next item of the business, and that is our consent agenda. Dr. Saltzman, would you provide an introduction to that consent agenda?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, Board of Directors, and to the public this evening. The board's consent agenda includes repetitive business items such as meeting minutes, personnel actions, expense vouchers, surplus lists, gifts, grants, and recurring contracts. Sometimes it includes items that occur less frequently but are of a routine business nature. These items are usually reviewed by the board in the Friday report, 1 or more weeks before the board meeting. This gives directors time to ask staff questions or to consider a discussion about the policy implications of those items. The board votes on the consent agenda in a single motion. By its definition, a consent agenda is not debatable. In the case of this consent agenda, the superintendent's office received no questions regarding the consent agenda. The consent agenda is presented as published for board approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saltzman. A motion to adopt the consent agenda is now in order.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved by Director Nichols and seconded by Director Mitchell to approve the consent agenda. Does any director wish to remove an item from the consent agenda and place it into new business section of the agenda? Hearing no request, we'll now proceed to the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say no. The motion carries. Before we go on to the next item, which is our strategic initiative study, I would like to make one comment. And I do understand that at this particular point in time, we will be moving to a mass situation. What our student representatives stated was very, very important to me because it came from our students primarily. And what they said, they acknowledge that they will have the opportunity, if they so choose, to continue wearing the mask, and they are hoping that other students do not tend to bully one another as a result of their decision to either continue wearing a mask or to take a mask off because of where we sit right now. I believe the district has done an outstanding job of following the recommendations from our state and our health department in deciding when, because the governor has decided when masks should come off, in working with OSPI. But what I like most is that our students feel compelled to state that they will not bully another and are advocating for the fact that they will not bully another student, whether they choose or they not choose to wear a mask. That's very important. So moving right along, I see Mr. Gunn is coming to the lectern for strategic initiative studying. No, for information. Discussion on the enrollment outlook. Thank you, Mr. Gunn.
All right. Well, thank you for the introduction. So tonight I am presenting to you our updated enrollment projections. You may remember that in October we provided an update to you on how the actual October 1 counts looked as compared to what our projections had shown we thought we were going to have a year ago. So this presentation tonight is basically, you can think of it as a follow-up to that presentation in October. And again, so tonight we will be looking into the future. Our objectives are to review how our October 2021 enrollments compared to other local school districts. We'll show you that just kind of for comparison purposes. We will review what types of enrollment projections we have and how we use them. The two primary ways that we use them, one is for budget and staffing, the other one is for facilities and program-related issues. And then we will also provide you with an understanding of our enrollment projections for a 1-year, 6-year, and 10-year outlook using the various projection methods. Just a reminder, every time we do an enrollment update to you, we tell you that the enrollment drives over 60% of our total general fund revenues and directly affects staffing levels. So the more accurate we can be means that we do a better job of budgeting and staffing decisions for the next year. We also use enrollment projections for facilities planning, capital bonds and levies, boundary revisions, use of space, and where programs could or couldn't be located, where we should move portable classrooms and where we should move them from, as well as on occasion property acquisition. And then every 2 years we use enrollment projections to update our capital facilities plan, which directly determines the amount of school impact fees that we can charge. And this is the year that we update that plan. So this is by the end of this calendar year, we will bring to you a updated capital facilities plan. We also use enrollment projections to make decisions about where and how we should allocate technology throughout the district. And then also, as I mentioned, program locations and also decisions on whether we should open a school to transfers from outside the district or not. So very important. So I'm going to get right to it. This is a chart that we see every year about this time, and it goes back to 1950. You can see that here recently, in the last 2 years, we've seen a pretty sharp decrease. The highest enrollment that we have been at ever was in 2019, 2 years ago. And the enrollment was 20,169 on October 1st. And then a year later, in 2020, it went down about 631 students. And then this October, 2021, it actually rose by about 95 students. So we're sitting right now, as of October 1st, at 19,633. And you can see that we jumped up just a little bit since last year. This is a look at how enrollment changes looked like at school districts throughout the nearby school districts. And you can see Everett shows an increase of 0.5%, 1 year change from the year before. I'm going to point out index too as the 14.3% reduction. And then on the next slide, it goes from a percentage to the actual numbers. And you can see the index, that 14% was actually 4 students that they lost.
Wow.
So it just really shows you that their enrollment is very small compared to the other districts. And Everett has actually increased by 94 students. And you can see what the other districts look like around us. And you could be pretty assured that Lake Stevens has some pretty affordable housing available in that district. This shows 4 counties in the Puget Sound region, King, Kitsap, Pierce, and Snohomish. And you can see that King and Kitsap have actually decreased for 2 years. I think Kitsap actually shows a slight increase of like 19 students, but but King County has shown 2 years of decrease. Pierce and Snohomish lost students in the first year of COVID and then have jumped up since then. So now I'm going to talk about enrollment projection methods. We use and have used for I think it's about 12 or 15 years. A consultant named Les Kendrick, and his company is Educational Data Solutions. He uses a historical trend projection method. Students roll up to the next grade level. So he counts those, and then he looks at, for kindergarten rates, he looks at birth rates 5 years prior to kindergarten to predict kindergarten enrollments. And then he adjusts all of those numbers for local housing market trends and economic indicators. So it's a fairly involved projection method. OSPI does a very similar thing, but they do not adjust for housing market trends, economic indicators, and also their kindergarten enrollment is based on a formula that says what has happened in the past at kindergarten level will continue into the future. So they don't look at the birth rates 5 years prior like Les Kendrick does. They just look at historically the mathematical projection of what should continue to happen based on what has happened. So what you're going to see here in a little bit is you're going to see, because of some of these differences in the methods, you're going to see a difference in the accuracy of the projections over time. We also use, for the longer range projection method, population-based forecasts. And this is where you look at historically how many students we've had in our system compared to our population. And then because the state predicts population out 30 or so years, you can actually look at the same ratio and figure out about how many students you think you're going to have based on population. So that's what our longest range projection method is. Okay, so we have used for a couple of years now, we have used the low range projections from Les Kendrick as the basis for our 1 year projections that we use in budgeting and staffing. And we have been using the medium range projection numbers from Les Kendrick for our facilities planning on a 1 to 10 year outlook. We also use the medium range projections for facilities, portables, and other things. And the difference here is that for budgeting and staffing, you really don't want to assume that you're going to get more revenue or need more staff than you actually will end up with. So the trend there is to be more conservative, to assume kind of a lower number for revenues, just so we don't overestimate our revenues. So we use the low range projections for facilities. We want to make sure that we have the portables there if needed. So that's why we use a kind of less conservative projection method and use the medium. And here in just a minute, again, I'll talk about how accurate each of those has been over time. And you'll see that we've really kind of hit a good midpoint in terms of all of this. We can also use OSPI projections. That we actually get a 10-year projection from Les Kendrick for the low, medium, and high. OSPI produces a 6-year projection. And then again, our population-based forecasts, that can go out well over 10 years. I think we can get it out 20 or 30 years if you using that method of assuming the ratio is going to stay the same. So now we're going to get into enrollment projections. So this is elementary school, and the actual numbers is the only actual number you see there is in 2021. So for elementary's enrollment, we were at 9,445 district-wide at elementary level. And using the Les Kendrick high projection, you'll see it shows pretty significant growth. Using Les Kendrick's medium, it shows slight growth. Using Les Kendrick's low range projection, it shows a slight decrease. Using OSPI's projection, it shows even a more significant decrease over 6 years. So again, I'm just going to point out that we tend to use, we have recently anyway, the last couple of years, we've used Les Kendrick's low range projection for budgeting and staffing projections for the 1-year outlook, and then the medium range projection for facilities that go from 1 to 10 years out. So now I'm going to show you the middle school, a similar pattern, maybe a little bit higher, frankly, than some of the low range elementary projections, but you can see Les Kendrick's high, medium, and low. And then OSPI's numbers over the 6-year time frame are nearly identical to Les Kendrick's low projections. Now the high school numbers. Very similar to what you saw before, except that now OSPI's projections are in between our low range projection and our medium range projections. Still predicting at the high school level, slight decreases at the low range, decreases for about 6 or 7 years at the medium range, and then it starts ratcheting upward. And then the high range projections are significant growth for the entire time. I'm going to wrap it up here in a minute and show you some accuracy, and then also kind of what this looks like in a tabular form, looking at the numbers instead of the graphics. But this is what it looks like on a district-wide basis, combining all of the grade levels into one. So now this is a 1-year projection showing Les Kendrick's low and medium range projections, and then OSPI. So this is what we would use as the basis, again, for the staffing and budgeting process that we used. You can see the 1-year projection that Les Kendrick has come up with for the next year is a total decrease of 161 students. Our budget and finance staff don't use this exact number. They do some modifications to it based on their view of the actual numbers. So they do even a more refined process than Les Kendrick does. But the medium range projections for the same 1-year time frame show an increase of 181. And then OSPI is similar to Les Kendrick's low range projection. We saw that in the charts, but just to kind of point out, all three of these projections show increases, well, I should say decreases at the middle school level. So that's a pretty strong prediction that we have is that at the middle school level for the one-year outlook, we'll see decreases in enrollment. This is the 6-year time frame. Again, this is used mostly in facilities and non-budgeting and non-staffing related uses. So Les Kendrick's low range shows a decrease of 455 over that 6 years. We are using the medium range projections that we will actually slightly increase over the 6 years by 615 students. It's an average of about 100 students a year district-wide, which is a slight growth projection. OSPI, again, shows decrease over that same 6 years, which is a stronger, larger decrease than Les Kendrick's low range projection. Now the 10-year projection. We do not show an OSPI projection for 10 years because they only project out 6 years. So that's not applicable or not available. You can see Les Kendrick's low and medium range projection. So again, knowing that we used the medium range projections primarily for facilities, we would be looking at about 1,000 student increase district-wide over the 10-year timeframe. So again, that's an average of about 100 students growth per year, which is slight increase. All right, now I'm going to talk about accuracy. I'm going to look in various ways at how accurate some of these projections have been. This is a comparison of accuracy for the one-year projections, and I'm going to show you Les Kendrick's low and medium and then OSPI's. So this shows you how accurate each of the last, the years from 2015 all the way to 2021, how close to exact they've been. So look at 2015, Les Kendrick's low range projection was 241 students less than the actuals that showed up. In 2016, Les's low range projections were 248 students under projection, and so on. Okay, so that shows you how accurate that has been. This next slide shows you the same information, only based on Les Kendrick's medium range projections. So this shows you that the medium range projections have been more accurate than the low range projections every year, except for the last 2 years, 2020 and 2021, because that is when COVID has had a very significant impact. And so the low range projections have just been more accurate because, frankly, who could have predicted COVID prior to COVID? And then here is OSPI's accuracy. So you can see that OSPI is in blue, and the accuracy of OSPI's projections in 2015 and 16, and actually 17, I believe, too, was in between our low and medium. So it was actually more accurate than any of Les's projections in 2017. The medium range projections have been more accurate than OSPI all the other years, except for 2021. And you can see that is just one of those years when very difficult to predict enrollment in the future with COVID happening. It's stabilizing to some degree, but still very difficult. So OSPI was more accurate in 2021. But you can see kind of the implications of using the low range projections for staffing and budgeting. It's still the best enrollment projection to use for that purpose, because the other projection methods would have had you over budgeting, assuming revenues higher than you actually got. Okay, so now I'm going to go to, so this all has been the 1 year projections. Now I'm going to go look at the longer range projections for enrollments out 1 to 6 years. So this one, again, I'll just kind of go through it fairly quickly. This shows the absolute value difference. So let's take the first year. That is goes back to 2009, and as measured, we've evaluated the projections for every year since 2009, the 1 year outlook. And this is Les Kendrick's low range projection. And then it shows that on the average, his 1 year projections numbers have been an absolute value of 256 off of being perfect. It doesn't tell you whether it's been high or low. It just says it's been that far in terms of an absolute value off of being totally accurate. The second year is 490 students off. Third year is 683. So again, remember, Les Kendrick's low range projections, and it goes back and looks at the average since 2009. This is the same information with Les Kendrick's medium range projections. So it does show again that the medium range projections of Les Kendrick's has been more accurate than the low range projections for every year except for the 5-year outlook. And then it was just a little bit different. And then here's OSPI. So it does show that the medium range projection numbers from Les Kendrick has been more accurate than OSPI for the entire time since 2009 on the 1 through 6 year projections. So it's a lot of information, but it shows you how and why we use different methods for predicting enrollment depending on how we need to use it. Okay, so just wanted to reiterate, enrollments have been very difficult to predict during COVID. We're continuing to monitor and explore various projection methods. We know there are a couple of other consultants that do this kind of work. We're talking with other districts, seeing what success they've had with them. Kendrick does do the majority of school districts projections in the region, and he worked for quite a while at Seattle School District doing this as a demographer. So he has a lot of really good experience. We, once again, use low-range projections as the basis for budgeting and staffing, and then we use medium-range projections as the basis for capacities and facilities issues. The enrollments, the medium-range enrollments versus capacities, I wanted to mention that because even though we're not building new schools or really a significant number of new classrooms, in a bond, because we don't have a bond, we have a levy, and we're doing some classrooms at those 2 replacement elementaries. But I wanted to give you a snapshot of what we look like, enrollments versus capacities. So we have 93 elementary, 30 middle, and 17 high school portables. Are in the fall of 2022, the 1-year outlook, we have projected based on the medium range projections that we'll have 12 elementary schools. Actually, it says 2 middle schools, but it turns out it's only 1 middle school, and then 1 high school are projected to be over their permanent building capacities. And there are already portables at all of these locations. So we believe, just based on a facilities outlook, that with the portables currently on site, only 3 elementaries with those portables are projected to be close to their total school capacities, and none of them are projected to be over. We may still move some portables for a variety of reasons, for program decisions or other things, but we're not having to move significant numbers of portables for enrollments, and we certainly don't need to buy any right now. That's the bottom line. And then looking out 6 years to the fall of 2027, to give you a snapshot, our enrollment at that time, using Les Kendrick's medium range projection, will bring us up to about where we were prior to COVID in 2019. So using that, those assumptions and those projection methods, it'll take about 6 years to recover enrollment-wise from COVID. All right, so next steps, we're already February to March. We have distributed enrollments to the various school sites and departments to have them work on their budget. Jeff and his staff are very much involved in that right now. We are finalizing our portable relocation plan and working through some discussions about program locations and other things. And then Brian and his team in technology will be using it to locate technology, and we're using it to determine which schools will be open or closed to transfers and that kind of thing. I just wanted to remind you that in September, regardless of what our budget is, we will be adjusting our staffing based on the actual enrollment that shows up. And Jeff always wants me to mention that. So we will always make the adjustments necessary when we see where the kids show up in the classroom.
Yeah.
All right, so in summary, enrollment projections extremely important in a variety of ways. Staffing, budget development, program locations, facility needs. And then as kind of a takeaway, I would say the low range Kendrick projections indicate gradual enrollment declines across all grade levels for the next 10 years. And then on the medium range projections, it's a gradual growth over the next 10 years at all grade levels. So those are the projections. Medium range, slight growth. Again, I mentioned about 1,000 students over 10 years, about 100 students per year on the medium range. And then low range is a slight decline over 10 years. And that concludes my presentation tonight.
Directors, student reps, are there any questions?
I had a couple.
Yes, go right ahead, Director Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Gunn, for formative presentation. I know what a challenge it's been the last few years, and especially given the importance and everything that's driven out of the numbers. You know, I guess the big question in my mind, where did all those kids go? So we lost over 600 and we're up 94. And other than the fact that they maybe moved to Lake Stevens, we're still, I guess in my mind, I'm still thinking they're coming back. I know there's been a trend in more homeschooling. I know that some have chosen private options given the pandemic, and some were held back before enrolling in school. But I just can't help but think they're still out there somewhere, because a lot of districts have experienced this same phenomenon, I guess. And I guess what I'm wondering is, has there been conversation around, a potential adjustment sort of more kids coming back when the pandemic has subsided a little bit? I'm hoping maybe in a year or so, or do you just kind of, I don't know, where is that?
Okay, so the first thing I would say is this illustrates the value of updating our enrollment projections every year. So every year we look at everything we have to see and update the enrollment projections. And I would say it always changes what our projections look like. So as the kids come back, we will be seeing them increase our enrollments and take those into account in the next year's projections. If the kids come back during the school year, then we will make adjustments to staffing and, if necessary, to portables and other things. So we will absolutely adjust as needed. And that we do update our projections every year.
But at this point in time, there's not any, obviously from the projections that you just gave us, there's not any prediction that there will be a larger group coming back like in the next year or 2 years.
Correct.
Yeah.
But like I said, very difficult to predict during COVID.
Yeah.
I will say though that we are having conversations, a lot of conversations about where those students, how many, at what grade levels, and what are we doing to track them down. And I had actually 2 conversations with Kathy Woods in the last 2 days on this topic. So I just wanted to reassure you, we are actively taking measures to engage those students, to re-engage with them and offer them opportunities here.
That's great. One other question, different topic. When we were planning the renovations or the rebuilds of the 2 elementary schools that are now in the past levy, what kind of additional capacity will those provide at the elementary school level? Because I know they're going to be more classrooms, I believe, at each school.
14 new elementary classrooms.
And I'm assuming that's a part of the 6 or maybe 10-year prediction? Probably not 6.
The way I would put it right now is that we have, I think, what was it, about 90 some portables right now at the elementary level. One of the things, excuse me, that we try to do is to avoid long-term reliance on portables for enrollment. So in other words, as these portables age, we would rather remove them. And this gives us some ability to do that from the system. And so we have the equivalent of about 3 elementary schools right now in portables at the elementary level.
Yeah.
So by building, in effect, 14 permanent buildings, classrooms in as part of these 2 elementaries, it just helps reduce our reliance on portables at the elementary level.
Thank you.
I just have one question. When I looked at slide 14, you don't have to bring it up again because I wrote it down.
Okay.
It looks between the low and the medium, there's about greater than a 300 student swing. So you did mention that your staff sort of looks at these and makes adjustments, because I could understand budgeting low, but 300, potential greater than 300 swing could lead to not enough staff. So, and that's what your staff, you said your staff looks at that though.
Yes.
So it's like, what does it really look like? What are we getting for kindergarten, early enrollment, transfers? What's it really looking like, so that those swings don't happen? Because I do believe, you didn't present it here, that your staff tends to be within much better than either of these 2 predictions.
Right.
And so can you
That's
explain
right.
sort of how that sausage gets made?
Sure. I would say that they don't just stop in November. So we get our projections from Les Kendrick, November and December. We meet with him a couple times, and then they're finalized, I think, in February. So, but I would say that especially Karen Buckman, I'll shout out for her. She, in particular, doesn't stop at that time and assume that we're done. She actually continues to monitor enrollments at various schools. And even in the summer, she'll have conversations with the principals about how many kids do you have signed up? What's your elementary enrollment look like? So we continually monitor and have conversations around that. We being, the editorial we. So
Yeah, I understand.
finance staff.
Because I think
Yes.
that even for that 1 year, or like looking at today, I think it really is always very impressive at how closely your staff and all, like the royal we,
Yes.
how close they are to much better. You're using that Les Kendrick, you're using that OSPI, and then whatever fine tuning they do, I'm always very impressed every year at how close it is, so that we're not scrambling for staff, we're not laying off staff, that your team really does do a great job.
Yeah.
And the fact, even our long-term planning, another compliment, that we predicted that we were going to have this downturn when we elected to follow the community's recommendation that we not put a high school on our most recent bond. And we're showing that Jackson might still be over, but I've talked to quite a few kids that in my neighborhood that are now at Cascade, they see no difference. And so it is just sort of, we were able to adjust based on long-term by not asking for that big high school at that time.
Yes.
Based on community recommendations, but I really do appreciate what your team does to put us in the best position.
Thank you. Thank you.
Directors, are there any other student reps? Are there any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Gunn. It's always very informative to hear you speak. Thank you very much. We'll now move to our next section, which is section 13.0. It is unfinished business. There is no unfinished business scheduled for this meeting. On section 14 is a new business, and I see Mr. Fleckenstein is already at the podium. He's going to be talking about policy 2210, which is our special education related services for eligible students. First reading.
Well, thank you, President Lesane. And this evening, proposed revisions to policy 2210, special education and related services for eligible students, clarify existing requirements regarding inclusionary practices, family engagement, and effective supports for students receiving special education service. Rule updates require alignment of student IEPs to the graduation pathways for all students and ensure parents receive invitations to attend IEP team meetings, IEP team meeting proceedings, and all other meetings related to a free and appropriate education in a language they can understand. This provision extends to invitations related to student discipline and truancy and include notification in the family's primary language of availability of interpretation and translation services, arranging for interpreters, and documenting parent preferences. While the revisions to this particular policy are few, as you'll see in the revisions presented this evening, additional revisions have been incorporated into the related procedure. And so the actual revisions presented to you this evening are at the bottom of page 1.
Directors, are there any questions? No? So the action is to move this on to second reading. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
We'll now move to section 15.0, which is our upcoming agenda items. Dr. Saltzman, what's planned for that next?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Board of Directors, and to the public. At the March 15th special meeting, the board agenda will contain Strategic Progress Monitoring Session 3. At our regular meeting on March 22nd, 2022, that will contain the following: a policy for second reading, communications plan update, a budget development update, the Snohomish County Human Services Student Support Advocate Agreement, the Transportation Contract, the Power School Contract, the Detention Center Educational Program Interlocal Agreement, an Asset Preservation Update, and surplus technology and electronic equipment. At our special meeting on April 1, 2022, the board agenda will contain the following: the National School Boards Association Annual Conference. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Woohoo! Excuse me. That will move us to item 16.0, which is executive closed session. Tonight, immediately following the board meeting, the board will hold a closed session in the Silver Lake Room to discuss contract negotiations. The anticipated length of the closed session is 20 minutes. No action will be taken during that closed session. This meeting is adjourned. The board will now proceed to the closed session. Thank you, everybody. And I do want to say again, for those PTSA members that are here, thank you for what you do for our students and our staff. You make the world a better place. Thank you.